All right, it is time for the Covrprice Top 10 1 year later. All right, we are going to get into this list. Again, this is the Covrprice Top 10 from 1 year ago. We're going to see where the market is, what's happened over this last year, where these books are now, if they have risen, if they have bust, everything in between we're going to talk about. But first, let me talk to you quickly about Covrprice.com. If you're buying and selling comics, then you need to try Covrprice.com. It is a collection management system and comic book price guide all rolled into one. With Covrprice, you can track the value of graded and raw comics easily. They put actual sales data from 5 major online marketplaces so you always know what your collection is worth. It's a pain researching what everything in your collection is worth, but with Covrprice, you don't have to. It'll track everything for you. With all the data they capture, they also put out a data-driven top 10 and a weekly comic report filled with interesting comic sales. They have a 10-day free trial, so there's nothing to lose, guys. Go try them out at Covrprice.com. All right, guys, so that's Covrprice. Let's get into the list now. And one more time, again, it's from a year ago. This is the list from a year ago, and we're going to compare the prices from back then and today. So we're going to start at number 10. This is Darth Vader, number 3. This time last year, there was an announcement that a female-focused Star Wars series from Russian doll creator Leslie Headland was in the works at Disney+. Per the article, insiders claim that this will take place in a different part of the Star Wars timeline than other projects. Fans immediately felt this meant Dr. Aphra, whose first appearance is in this issue. The news pushed Raws to $50 and a high sale of $289 for a CGC 9.8. 1 year later, despite no new Dr. Aphra news, values have gone way up. Speculation is still strong, strongly believing that she will show up amongst all the upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars content. Raws now sell for $160, 9/8 around $500. Guys, if this isn't a boost, I don't know what is. Anything Star Wars is hot. Think of it. Just go back a year. All the Star Wars stuff started going. This was the beginning right here. Actually, correction, the Kanan book started it all. From, if you watch the previous video, Kanan started popping, started going, ended up on the list. Now, here we are with Dr. Aphra. Again, this is Darth Vader number 3 at number 10. Let's move down to number 9. This is Nova number 1. If you recall last year's Endgame Infinity Wars writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely hinted they were trying to incorporate Nova. Upon hearing this, the Russo brothers made an offhand comment about how he already was in Endgame in the final battle scene, and then a day or two later said they were just joking. His first appearance immediately spiked, despite the incorrect comment. With that said, Kevin Feige was also directly quoted on Nova having immediate potential for an MCU debut, which solidified these sales and never went back down. Last year, Raws were selling for about $80, 9.8s around $950. 1 year later, this is a year later, guys, Raws are now selling for over $100. And a 9.8 officially sells for $2,250. Another big boost. First 2 books on our list, up, and away. I remember all the hype between Dr. Aphra last year and Nova, and it has not gone away. I do feel like people haven't talked to Nova much, but the sales are proving that people are still out there grabbing these books. So with that, how about we slide to number 8. And I think you guys might remember this if you were around last year because this book was going crazy thanks to Donny Cates. This is Annihilation Conquest, Wraith, number 1. It was this time last year when writer Donny Cates tweeted about Wraith, whose first full appearance is in this issue, having a direct connection to Null, which was enough to light a big fire under this book, leading into Web of Venom, Wraith by Cates. and the Venom ongoing series. This book was one of the hottest aftermarket sellers, reaching $80 raw, $250 to 9.8. A few months later, raws were selling for $100. CGC 9.9 sold for $1,200 1 year later. Wraith did play a part in the overall Null storyline, but is now dead. Kind of. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. His death brought a drop in raws to $32, yet 9.8s held their value with a current fair market value of $294. Guys, the raw was a bit of a bust on this from a year ago. The graded is a boost. I remember all this hype as well. The Wraith stuff was going crazy a year ago, all because of Cates. That's the kind of impact his writing and storytelling has on the hobby. Just a little innuendo, and then boom, he shows up. This book goes wild, and then boom, he's dead. Kind of. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Let's move on. Number 7 on our list. Lazarus, number 1. Last year, certain sites and apps had unconfirmed reports coming out stating that Amazon may be getting close to greenlighting this project. The news pushed sales and landed it in the top 10 with a high sale of $100 for a 9.8. 1 year later, no news or confirmation ever came. Despite this, raw values have held at about $11. 9.8s dipped to $85. Sales have significantly slowed down on this. It's kind of a bust. It's kind of a even keel. I don't know. You want to invest in Lazarus, go ahead. It doesn't seem like it's really dropped off too much, relatively speaking. But you know, as much as I do, another little rumor, another little leak, another hint that this thing is coming, and to the moon it's going to go. It's happened how many times with how many books? With that, let's slide down. Number 6 on our list, The New Gods. Number 9. Last year, New Gods director Ava DuVernay tweeted a response to a fan itching for an update on the New Gods film. Miss DuVernay responded with, "Because you asked so nicely, working on a 4th draft of a scene featuring All Widow this week. XO." All Widow's first appearance is in this issue, as well as the character Forager. Thanks to this little nugget of confirmation, it was selling for $13 raw and at a high sale of $650 and a 9.8. 1 year later, we now know that New Gods was canceled. Thanks, Warner Brothers. You apparently don't care. Sales have obviously significantly slowed. Despite some raw sales around $10 to $20, there have been no high-grade sales since the initial ones last year. Kind of a boost for a raw. Unknown what's going to happen the next 9.8 where it sells. This is just Warner Brothers failing on every aspect of DC, not trusting their writers, not trusting the process. Like, we have seen how many good DC projects just get shut down. How many times has Warner Brothers said, we like it, but now we're good. We're not going to be doing that anymore. Totally crazy. I was really excited for a New Gods movie. And now that we've seen Justice League, the Snyder Cut, I mean, come on, was New Gods going to kind of tie in a little bit? Were we going to see a little bit of Darkseid in there? Some Steppenwolf, some origin stories? I don't know. We could have seen any of that stuff, and it's gone. Tom King was also involved with it too, and it's all gone. So, oh well. Let's do number 5 now. This is a big one. Star Wars number 42. Long before The Mandalorian Season 1 hit Disney Plus, fans were already asking when we would see Boba Fett in the series. Well, this time last year, we got our answer as it was confirmed. Tamora Morrison would once again play Boba Fett in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. His first full comic appearance in Star Wars number 42 immediately spiked to $127 raw, had a high sale of $575 and a 9.8. A year later, everything has changed. Boba Fett's appearance did happen, and it was awesome. With a return to future seasons and his own Book of Boba Fett show on Disney Plus, this book continues to move up. Raw now sells for over $300. 9.8s, $250. We've talked about Star Wars. We're talking about it again. It's hot as hell. Let's be honest. You want to invest in Star Wars. If you had done this a year ago, you would be thrilled. I don't see an end in sight. The more strong content they put out on Disney Plus, the better the movies get, the better the shows get, the more you're going to see these books spike and the more speculation you're going to see behind them. It's getting crazy, but can you blame this book? You could almost argue that this book was undervalued this whole time and finally caught up. It might be a little overvalued now because everything is going crazy, but I definitely would say that it was undervalued. People who got in on this book, congratulations on you. Great pickup. Let's go to number 4 on our list. This is Wretches, number 1. Last year, Scout Comics announced that this book was in development as a 1-hour sci-fi adventure series. The news came when few titles were getting optioned. COVID slowed much of Hollywood down, yet this announcement helped raw copies sell for about $25. 9.8 sold later in August around $40. With no news, raw copies fell to $10. However, sales have almost completely stopped for this title despite a recent bump in a 9.8 for $92. Kind of a bust on this book, raw. Kind of a boost in this graded. I don't know. Again, it all comes down to that news, guys. The same thing with Lazarus, the same thing with this. If you even get a whisper of this possibly happening, you know what's going to happen in this book. It's going to skyrocket. They always do. Number 3, similar to something we already talked about, this is Annihilation Conquest Wraith, number 2. As we previously mentioned with Wraith number 1 and Donny Cates' tease of Wraith's connection to Null, it was alluded that this connection lied with the Exelon, which Wraith is infected by and provides him with the enhanced speed, strength, agility, a healing factor, and the ability to absorb energy blasts. The interesting theory was that they were created by Null and considered kindred of the Clintar. This issue featured the first appearance of the Exelon, had raw sales of $30, high sale of $100 for a 9.6, despite an all-time high sale of almost $500 for a 9.8 in August 2020. This connection didn't play a factor and prices plummeted. Raws now sell for $10. The last 9.6, $45. 9.8s at $66. Huge bust on this book. Maybe the biggest bust on our list. I mean, who's spending $500 on a 9.8 of this book? That's crazy. I hope it wasn't you who's ever watching. I hope it wasn't you. But wild. Again, talking Donny Cates. This guy affects the market with his writing, with his tweets, with his teases. And this is a great example of a bad theory. Sorry if you picked this one up. Let's go to number 2. How about the Mighty Avengers number 13? This time last year, rumors surfaced that there is a Secret Warriors project underway at Marvel Studios as they search for a writer. While this was unconfirmed, the mere mention of the project sparked immediate interest in the first appearance of the Secret Warriors, which is this issue. Raw sales hit $20, 9.8 sold for $250. A year later, the rumor was never confirmed. However, even the outlier rumors hold strong until the very end. Hence, Omega Red, Mephisto. Prices have held. Raw copies at $20, despite a price drop in the 9.8s down to $180. I don't know, man. Something about this. The Secret Warriors. I would grab it. I would. $180 for a 9.8. It's not unheard of. I don't think it's unheard of that this could maybe come. It could happen. I'm not too sure. It's about a break even / bust if you picked this up a year ago, but hold tight. You never know. Marvel, everything is hot with Marvel right now, guys. So I don't know. Let's go to number 1. I don't know if you guys remember this from last year. I certainly do. I remember all of this. This is Youngblood number 2, but the pink logo. Last year, Deadline reported that Mark Guggenheim, set by Studio 8 to script profit from the character hatched by Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld. At the time, Liefeld hinted at this option months before, creating movement for Prophet's first appearance in this Youngblood #2 issue. Raws were selling for $9 and had a high sale of 120 and a 9.8, which was crazy for this high print run early image book. 1 year later, with no news, Raws fell back down to like $5. However, 9/8 stayed in the same, stayed about $120. This could be light nostalgia or just low inventory, but it shockingly didn't die completely. Rob Liefeld, the pink Youngblood #2. I don't know what I can say about this book. I'll tell you what, man. 9/8 key issues in 9.8s for between like $85 to $150. I feel like are pretty decent investments because you never know. Chances are, worst case, you could probably get your money back or lose a little bit. But on the flip side, if profit comes, this book could grow. I never would have thought a book like Omega Red would sell for about $350 to $450 in a 9/8. I never thought. So you never know with profit. No idea. That's our top 10. That is it for it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Here you go. Out of the top 10 books from this time last year, despite a few busts and some break-even raw sales, Nova and Star Wars titles kept this list in the green. The kicker is Nova and Aphra haven't even hit their heights yet, which I totally agree with. If you bought into those specific titles at a market last year, then this was a massive win for you. With that said, overall, if you would have invested in each book on this top 10 at its market price 1 year ago, it would have cost you $444 in raw and a pricey $3,325 graded. Today, these books would now sell for $565 raw and $7,816 graded, that's not counting the New Gods in a 9.8. Obviously, the raw values wouldn't have been worth it, but with the hefty graded buy-in, graded sales would have brought you almost a $4,500 profit. Again, without New Gods. This is not the same case for each top 10 week by week, though keep in mind this is the early days of COVID when the buying craze is just about to start. It's going to get interesting, guys. I can't wait to get deeper into this as we kind of get deeper into COVID from last year. We know where the market is now. We're kind of relearning where it was a year ago. Absolutely fantastic. I love doing these lists. And one more time, make sure you check out covrprice.com and see what's on their current top 10 list and the various trending movers and shakers. Come back for the next show. Let's see how the books did 1 year later. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And as always, keep it comics.